All right, conscious entrepreneurs. I am here today with Julie Johnston. Julie is an expert in helping leaders leverage their time. She has spent the last 25 years as an entrepreneur herself and has started a company called Rhino Squad, which helps leaders find more profit time. I know we all want more time doing the things that we are best at and getting the most value out of every minute that we're spending at work. I've heard it said, we want to spend our time not on $50 tasks, but on $50,000 decisions. And Julie is an expert in helping us do that. Welcome to The Conscious Entrepreneur, the only podcast 100% dedicated to the well-being of entrepreneurs. It's where founders come to sharpen their edge from the inside out and lead with clarity, connection, and purpose, without buying into hustle culture or burning out. Hit subscribe right now so you never miss an episode. Let's get started. So, Julie, welcome to the Conscious Entrepreneur podcast.
I am so excited to be here. I love entrepreneurs. I have felt their pain, and I just want to help them feel less pain and more excitement and joy every day as they're working on their businesses.
I love that. It is a huge impact in the world when entrepreneurs can be more successful and thrive. That extends into our communities greatly. And I think you have some incredible tips and lessons to teach us about how we can be more time efficient and how we can use our skills more in our business and stop doing the things that we need to delegate to others in order to truly continue the conversation that we've been having at the Conscious Entrepreneur Summit about 10xing our business. So how do we achieve massive growth? How do we help our business be everything that it can be? And I think, sadly, often we are blocking ourselves more than we know. So I would love to start for you to share maybe what are 2 or 3 mindset shifts that you think leaders need to make in order to activate the power of delegation.
So the 10X is easier than 2X book. I know you have Ben Hardy is speaking at your events, and that book is the perfect example of, okay, if I try harder and I stay later, maybe I can 1.5X, maybe I can 2X. And then how do I get to the 10X jump? Oh, okay, I have to simplify my offering, usually focus on the things that my customers need the most and want the most and the things that I'm best at delivering. And then I have to figure out how to ask myself every little thing that I do every single day. Is this something that someone else can do? And the answer is everything we do, someone else can do for reals. But then how do we afford that? How do we take that initial jump and how do we get into the mindset of, okay, I can grow and scale my company without me doing these things. It's not true that if I need it done right, then I have to do it. That is not true. And how do I even have the bandwidth to make the jump to hire the people? Because we all know that in the beginning, when we hire someone new, there's a lot of extra time that we don't even have to spend on those things. So as far as mindset goes, I like to think of it as even if I free up 5 minutes a day at first, and that 5 minutes is allocated towards figuring out how to pass off the next 5 minutes and free up the next 5 minutes, the next 5 minutes. I call it it's like compound interest. My little time babies start making their own time babies, and it compounds and compounds until I am just in my zone of genius, as Gay Hendricks says. And I am all of a sudden seeing my business grow and scale unlike anything I could have imagined just by starting small and giving ourselves the time and the clarity to make good decisions. And it's also okay to not make good decisions.
The belief that no one can do it as well as I can do it, and it's going to be too hard to bring someone in. It's going to be too hard to trust someone to help me. I'm going to have to invest a ton of time to make this work are things that are just not true. They might be a little bit true, but they're not fully true. And those wrong beliefs are stopping people from taking action and actually making the changes in their business that will actually give them the time to do their most high value activities. So when we're making the time to go to the Conscious Entrepreneur Summit and we are reading books and we are thinking big, there's this giant gap between having the knowledge and applying the knowledge. And one of the things that I'm so passionate about is how do we take the first action so that we can really put all these big ideas to work for us. I know you often come in and consult with experts and leaders in this area. Um, Actually, I'm going to re-say that. I know you often come in and speak with executive teams about not just helping the CEO, but who are those highly paid individuals in your business that if you could buy back, as Dan Martell says, if you could buy back 15% of their time with a much more affordable employee and get so much more out of that resource, how powerful that would be for your business. And you help teams do this all the time. Tell us about what you've learned through having those consultations.
Oh, yes. So having your virtual assistant both save you time and make you more money is my favorite thing. I love brainstorming it. And you're talking about the C-suite, the executives and your company. Let's just say that you have a salesperson and they are incredible on calls or they're incredible out on the golf course. And then you have a really hard time getting them to input all of their numbers, to get their KPIs. Like that sales development role is just such a pain for them. They don't want to do it, meaning all of the daily money making activities, following up, reaching out to prospects, making sure that everything is updated in the CRM. So we'll have businesses that'll have me come in and talk or on Zoom or in person, and I'll talk to the executives and I will get them fired up about having a virtual assistant save them time and allow them to be making more sales, making bigger commissions. So the company's making more money, they're making more money, and they're changing a life by giving someone a job. And it all gets really, really exciting. And one of the things we do is we start with, so it depends on where the company's at. So if a company really needs more leads and they need more sales, then we focus first on the money making activities and the time saving activities that a VA can do. If they're really, really great on leads and sales, then we look into, okay, can we ramp up service and make service more efficient with a virtual assistant? And I start pulling out, usually I let them do stream of consciousness of what their day looks like. And I love it if they will do a time study for me, but I never expect it because asking an entrepreneur, an executive to go do a time study, usually they're just going to put it off and not do it. If you will do it, beautiful. I love it. I would love to dive in. But usually I just ask them, stream of consciousness, what does your day look like? Okay, what are you doing next? Let's back up. What are the steps that you took to do that? And I just start taking notes and writing down all of the things that their virtual assistant can do for them, especially the recurring things, the things that are happening every day. Because if we hand those off first, then all of a sudden we free up enough time to be very strategic about what the VA is going to do for the rest of the day. And just getting everyone fired up about having a global team and about changing lives. It's not just, oh, we're all too busy for these tasks. Let's just pass them off to somebody. No, it's okay, we're going to make more money, save time, have better quality of life, have more time with our family, more time with hobbies, and everyone's making more money and we're changing a life in another country too.
One of the things that I heard you say that I want to bring forward a little bit more is about the culture shift on the team when you have everyone working together and functioning at such a high level. You said having more fun, making more money, and I think part of that means like actually being able to close your laptop and giving your team the chance to complete their work and then go home and be refreshed. I know as a conscious entrepreneur, we care deeply about our team and the culture and the sustainability and scalability of the work that we're doing. And I think that these global team members can really help us create more of that. Could you speak to that a little bit, Julie?
Yes. Let's give our team the gift of actually being able to finish all their work every single day. So I never had that opportunity until the last few years. And before that, my to-do list was always pretty stressful, pretty overwhelming. I would get to my desk in the morning And I'd be like, okay, I would fire myself up. I'd motivate myself. I am going to work on my business today, work on my business and in my business. Then I'd open my email and then one thing would lead to another and I would just be buried and I would never get to that list that is supposed to like help skyrocket my business. And that is a very frustrating, overwhelming. It makes us burned out. And it's the same for our team too, not just as the entrepreneur. Our team feels that way too. And so for the last few years, I get everything done every single day. And I'm like, whoa. And it took me, so this business, I grew in 1 year what took me 19 years to grow in my other business. Like, just as an
Wow.
example of how big this is and how important this is. And we always talk about culture and we always talk about retention. Whenever we find what we call a unicorn, that team member who, wow, we love having them on the team and they help us grow our business instead of just feeling like an anchor that's drowning us in the ocean. And we're like, how do we keep these team members? Well, one great way to keep them is to offer them quality of life and to offer them the daily win of finishing their work each day with the aid of a virtual assistant, taking off those
Absolutely.
things. And I can experience share. I'll open up like my process and what my executive assistant does for me. It's just I'm like held all day like a little baby so that I can just be my
I
baby
want
self.
I want that. But tell us, give us your secrets, Julie. What are if you could tell me maybe like the 3 or 5 things that your team has done for you that are making you feel so supported and are giving you, your energy and the freedom, entrepreneurial freedom to put your mind to work on the big dreamy projects and actually see them through.
So I could cry about this. I have 12 team members, all in the Philippines, and right now they do everything except the things that I have held on to, which, first of all, I love brainstorming. Just like I talked about, I love brainstorming with executive teams, with entrepreneurs about how to have a VA save time and make money. And then I do my team leadership meetings. And then I make content and work on the business. And those are the things that I love doing. And where I started was that the first thing I had to do was I had to get out of my email box. And so my first hire when I started this business, it's a long story, but when I started this business, I needed to make it work because of the pandemic and brick and mortar businesses and all the things. And so I'm like, okay, I need someone to allow me to be out there building the business. And I also need them to be doing daily money making activities. So I started with someone in my email box, starting before I start my day, organizing everything. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to go in there. Yeah, it's organized, but I'm not even going to go in there. So I started a notification chat, which is the only notification chat on between me and my executive assistant. And she's the gatekeeper. And we have this right now notification chat. And it's just the things that are right now things. And really, there's not any more right now things now because each time there was a right now thing, I'm like, what is a process where I can care deeply for my team members, care deeply for my clients, and have someone else take care of this right now thing? And then also every single day, they had a list of money making prospecting activities. I call it hybrid relationship building. When it is something that requires me, it is me. If you're in my LinkedIn and you're asking me a personal question or a deep business question, it is me responding. Everything that doesn't require me, can we talk about scheduling, rescheduling, all the things? It is not me. And so I'll pause there. But like I said, I have 12 running my whole company while I get to be me.
I love that. And the finding the easy place to start that feels like a win is huge. But I think a mistake that leaders are making when they're thinking about a global team is kind of thinking small. So, these are not often people are going to say, "Oh, it's my personal assistant or it's my virtual assistant," and they're confirming my meetings and, you know, cleaning out my spam and doing these things. But my goodness, I think that is 2x thinking, not 10x thinking.
Yep.
So tell me, I heard you talk about revenue generating activities. I heard you talk about VAs doing software demos. I heard you talk about um, people doing bookkeeping and accounting tasks. Like, tell me about how we can think 10x when we're talking about a global staff.
Yes. So anything that's done online can be done by somebody in the Philippines. We're even exploring Latin America as well now to build a community over there. And that includes a lot of different things. So my executive assistant is primed to take over my brainstorming calls whenever I'm ready. I don't think I'll be ready anytime soon because I love talking to entrepreneurs, but she's ready. And that's something that you just wouldn't think that you don't think of a virtual assistant brainstorming with your executives or your entrepreneurs. But when they've watched all of your calls for 2 years, they're pretty ready.
Tell me more. How do we 10x? How do we 10x
Yes.
how we leverage a global staff?
So one of the favorite things that we are exploring right now is a partnership with FOMO.ai. So they're this incredible company, and I just talked to the founder and the owner, and we're talking about, okay, we need to make sure that as an entrepreneur, I know that my VA is staying on top of AI because I
Mm,
am busy and whenever so I personally I'm learning how to code AI agents and things like that and because I have the time and I'm super into it. But most entrepreneurs, we are needing to be in other places, not trying to learn AI. And so FOMO.ai is building this incredible thing. I don't know how much I can talk about. However, they're building this incredible thing where your VA will stay at the top of all things AI. And where I'm feeling they're going is your VA will be able to take 40 hours of work and take it down to 1 hour or 15 minutes. And you still need your VA. You still need the oversight of your VA, but their time is maximized. And so that's how you 10X. Like first you're like, I'm the founder. I need to maximize my time. I need to be in my zone of genius. Then you're like, how can I maximize each person on my executive team, my sales team, my operations team, my project managers? How do I maximize them? And then you have VAs maximizing each of their time. And then you think about maximizing the VA's time with
talk
AI
about
agents, and
talk
it
about
gets
time babies. I mean,
time
I
babies.
time babies are
So
everywhere
it's a
here.
Julie Rhino term coins.
Yes, absolutely. Time babies. We're getting them back. I love that because, I feel like one of the things that I have appreciated in working with a, a team of VAs is how ahead of the curve they are. They're bringing me ideas often about, hey, I think we could do this differently. I think we could leverage, this tool to do that, and we can use this in a new way. Or I was researching this thing that we do today, and I found a different way to do it. I want to show you what this idea is. So, when they are really deeply engaged in learning, in using technology to maximize their time. They're using AI leveraged time. They're using tools wisely and safely and in a trustworthy way in our business. I love that. I'm like, please, can you be the thought leader and bring this into my company? Teach me how I should think about these tools and bring them to your other teammates, our global staff teammates, and the people in my team. So I love that this is something that the virtual assistant community as a whole, as a set of people that are in this business, are thinking about learning together. So that's cool.
So that shows your leadership as well. So I have a YouTube video coming out that's going to be titled "Don't Process Them to Death." And the difference between a leader who says, this is the result that I want, and if you come up with a better way to get there than I have, I applaud you. I'm so excited. I'm open to your ideas. And the culture of always learning. So that's one of our core values, and it's one of our recruitment requirements. Whoever we hire has to be excited about learning and improving. And we don't want just task rabbits because it's not going to help move them forward. So I applaud you as a leader. And one of my big passion projects is we are doing an online school, and the base level of that right now is all of our VAs get paid to teach each other things. So we have a Go High Level expert, for example, who is just that's all he does is build from the ground up Go High Level platforms. And so our clients can have access to him, and also the other VAs. He has this open abundance mindset, and he teaches his fellow VAs how to do what he does. And I love that. And then they feel like they have this community of support instead of kind of being scared to ask you because they're like, oh my, she's so busy. She doesn't have time to answer this question. They ask their fellow VAs first.
Absolutely. And I think that having that community of support and that culture of the team being invested in their future and wanting to learn is so consistent. I've seen this consistently with global staff members. Are you seeing that too?
Oh, yeah. So it all depends. So we always start with who we're attracting into our life. And so for me, it's like, wow, they're so amazing. They love teaching each other things. They have just the most amazing attitudes. And every single one of our job ads starts with our core values that they have to match. And we start with our clients' core values that they have to match. And when we check references, we go direct to their past employers and we ask about these things. And so I feel like I might have a bit of a bias, is what I'm trying to say. Like, oh,
Right.
this is so wonderful and so amazing. However, you still have to go through very, very great, good recruitment processes to get that, just like in other countries, in
It's
any
true.
country.
I mean, there's no magic about, we can say that, oh, every global staff member is, super enthusiastic and a super hard worker and has a great work ethic and is is committed to learning. But I mean, but I see it.
I have never felt so supported. And part of it is perspective, right? It's not so I will not be making any broad generalizations. However, when you talk to someone who's seen some stuff and they've
Mhm.
been through some pain and they've been through some financial struggles, or maybe they were raised poor and they come out the other side, it's a very different conversation than somebody who hasn't had those things. And so when you're going into a country where, wow, this is so amazing, I get to have this job. And so another thing is a lot of times we will save virtual assistants from call centers where they're
Mhm.
driving 2 hours in the middle of the night, sometimes 3 hours to work all night. And then they're driving home 2 to 3 hours and nobody cares about them and they're completely miserable and they feel like they can't move up and they're not paid very well. And then we love on them and we give them a job that they can work from home so they can be with their families. And then we do pet insurance and mental health checks. And it's like they are so just excited to go into work every day because they're supported and they have stability. And we always say when you're good, you never have to worry about having a job ever when you're good. And we will help you be good.
It's really special when you find a great resource and then all of these support mechanisms are in place so that, the VA company like Rhino Squad is their kind of your partner in making sure that, your team is being has a 360 kind of support system because we're based in the US. They're in the Philippines. And so I know that you have a support community and I love this is just again another way that you're using your team so well is that you've got assistants on your team that are taking care of the people there on site. So when these things all work in collaboration, you get a team that feels truly valued. You get a team that's bringing a lot of value to their jobs. And then everyone, the rising tide lifts all boats. So our businesses can get better. We can start seeing these massive, massive scale ups. So I hope that our listeners are feeling inspired about what can be done. If you find that you can start with somebody to just come in and help you with your inbox or come in and help you with your bookkeeping or come in and help you with your sales CRM, great, start there. But don't think small, think 10x. I know people that have 20 team members that are doing jobs in all of the departments of their company, fully integrated support. And this is it's almost an approach to it's like recession proof staffing, right?
Yes.
It gives you some breathing room where you're getting great work product, you're spending less, you have less overhead, you have less
Yes.
pressure on the business in times of uncertainty. So I love that as, also something to just sort of keep in the back of your mind that when there is uncertainty, this fractional staffing model can be a really powerful tool for leaders. Now, Julie, could we turn a little bit into sort of your conscious entrepreneurial journey? Because, you talked a little bit about the energy that people bring to a job when they have seen some stuff, right? And then they're on the other side of it. And I know that your story is pretty unique. You have been a 25-year entrepreneur. You started your entrepreneurial journey like many of us who are entrepreneurs. It starts young, right? So you started at 17 and you've been through some bricks and mortar businesses and you've done a lot of different things. But tell me about this business and why, you've done it a little bit differently. Tell me about your big why in this virtual staffing model.
So I have always tried really hard and worked really long hours. And then when the pandemic hit, it was the first time that everything shut down. I had 3 brick and mortar locations with my gyms. Everything was just shut down and I had time. And that was the first time I meditated, all of that good stuff. And then all of a sudden, everything just started clicking. I had hired overseas and I tried it a few different times in a few different countries. And then when I got to the Philippines, I don't know if it was maybe me being different or the country being different. I felt supported unlike anything I'd ever felt before. And then that first, I'm tearing up a little bit. That girl that I hired that was amazing. She told me her story about how she'd been mistreated. She'd had US clients who didn't pay her. They would use her work, not pay her. They would make her beg for her money. And I was like, wow. And so she was telling me how thankful she was that she found me. And I was so incredibly thankful that I found her. And then my entrepreneur friends, they were like, hey, can you help us find, someone like you have? And I was like, yeah, I've got this. And I kind of felt like energetically like I'd found her that way. And then I realized that I just had gotten lucky with her.
Mm.
And I really needed to develop a process to both attract the best VAs and then also only like have nice clients. And so it took me a while to develop the process. And then I finally did. But our mission is super, super simple. It's if we find the highest performing virtual assistants overseas, and then we take the best care of them and we do the things that our entrepreneurs and our clients don't really have time for, and so a lot of our clients, they might have time and they can, and the relationship is between our VAs and our clients. However, we're there as a community. We have team members who will go to your VA's house and deliver something, right? Like we have a network all over the Philippines. And so we take amazing care of the VAs, pet insurance, like mental health checks. Like we just love on them. And then we only accept nice clients. And we just get to be this connector and just kind of behind the scenes. Maybe you can think of us as like HR, just making sure everything feels good for everyone. And then I get to do high level strategy with my clients. And it's been this incredible business model. And I want to be real with you guys. It's also been really hard, like any business. It's the people business. And so there are one of my mantras that I say, I don't like surprises, but as an entrepreneur, we always have surprises. However, with our business, we try to figure out how to make sure there are less surprises for our clients, which is why we do the mental health checks and all of the things. But leading up to this business, my entrepreneur journey was one where I was either super poor and in crazy debt because I'd go 100% for one of my business ideas, or I was super rich and on top of the world and then investing everything back in the business. However, it was like 20 something years of just like, I would say suffering because I wasn't trying to 10X. I wasn't trying to leverage. I was me with all of my little might, making my businesses work and implementing my new ideas. And so this is the first time I feel like I have leverage in a business. And then that's what I want to share with others is how to get that leverage to save time and make more money.
It's working for you. And I know it works for so many people. And I hope that our listeners will feel inspired to put these ideas into action. Really check themselves on those mindset shifts that they need to make that we talked about to bring this powerful resource into their business and really activate their their superpowers, spend their time on the things that really create value for their business and create quality for all of their employees. So you've really shared some incredible ideas here, and I'm really, really appreciative. I'd love to kind of leave you with a question around, what do you think makes your business a conscious entrepreneurial business? Where do you see yourself really bringing in some of the things that I know are truly important to you and making those a reality in your business?
So one of our biggest core values is always do the right thing. And I get lectured on this sometimes, but we don't do contracts, meaning our clients aren't locked into contracts because we're just going to do the right thing. And so I believe in happy money. Money people are happy to give me and I'm happy to receive. And I love it. And it feels good. One of our other core values is like follow the love in our business. Is that following the love or is that following the fear? And so without contracts, we have to make sure that we find the best virtual assistants, nurture them. So we say, find the unicorns, nurture the unicorns, and then nurture our amazing wholehearted clients and make sure that everyone feels good. So we are forced to continue that or else we don't have a business because everything could just stop. So that's one of the ways that we do it. And my team, they're always like, okay, follow the love, not the fear. Like we'll catch it in our leadership meetings. Are we following the love or are we following the fear? And hearing those words spoken by my leadership team is probably one of the things that makes me proudest in the world.
I love that. That is beautiful. So very energetically driven. Well, I think you're bringing your values to life and they're showing up in your business. So that is a great practice of a conscious entrepreneur. So I want to thank you for being here. And Julie, we will make sure in the show notes, we put all the places where people can find you and learn more. I'm sure you have some great resources for people also to learn more about tips and tricks for how to get started in this space. And we'll put those in the show notes.
Thank you so much. Bye.
This was a fun conversation. Thank you.
Thanks for watching The Conscious Entrepreneur. If something landed for you, will you leave a comment? I'd love to hear what you thought. And if you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Thanks so much, and I'll meet you here next week.